Good morning and News at 10 in Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor. Let us begin with the headlines. Countdown begins to International Yoga Day celebrations tomorrow. Yoga Guru Ramdev leads over thousands in rehearsals at Rajpath and India Gate. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj says she is confident that India will become a member of the nuclear suppliers group this year, hopeful of convincing China to support entry. Markets open after a weekend today. Sensex opens 153 points lower over RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan's announcement that he will not seek a second term. And a suicide car bomb hits minibus carrying private security guards in Kabul. Nearly 14 guards killed, many others injured. Well, Yoga Guru Baba Ramdev transformed Rajpath into a massive stage for yoga celebrations as he led BJP ministers, MPs and other leaders in performing yoga. The event was organized by Department of Ayush and Government of India in collaboration with Ramdev, who has emerged as the country's yoga ambassador. International Yoga Day celebrations kicked off in New Delhi on Sunday. Yoga Guru Baba Ramdev led thousands of volunteers in the mass practice of yoga and other healthy activities. 30,000 volunteers, including Parliamentary Affairs Minister Venkaiah Naidu, Junior Urban Development Minister Babul Supriyo and other BJP leaders took part in the event.
श्वास छोड़ते हुए नीचे आ जाते हैं, थोड़ी देर के रिलैक्स, एक लंबा श्वास लेंगे। योगा एक भारतीय कला है, एक भारतीय संप्रदाय है, ये भारतीय जीवन पद्धति है। ऐसा पद्धति जो हमारे पूर्वजों ने हमको दिया, उसको दोबारा हम लोग आगे बढ़ाना चाहिए। हमारा जीवन में योगा एक भाग होना चाहिए। उस कारण से हमको मानसिक संतुलन मिलेगा, अनुशासन मिलेगा, शारीरिक और मानसिक स्वांतन मिलेगा।
Ramdev said yoga shows the way to spiritual prosperity and inner peace to people across the globe.
सभी अपने-अपने स्थानों पर खड़े हो जाएंगे। पहले शिथिलीकरण की कुछ क्रियाओं का अभ्यास करेंगे। योग और अध्यात्म के जरिए भारत और भारतीयता को पूरे विश्व में सम्मान मिला और पूरे विश्व को सुस्वास्थ्य का, सात्विक समृद्धि का और विश्व शांति का, हेल्थ, हार्मनी और हैप्पीनेस का एक बहुत बड़ा एक मार्ग मिला।
The United Nations in 2014 declared 21st of June as the International Day of Yoga after adopting a measure proposed by the Narendra Modi government. The day is marked by mass practice of yoga and other healthy activities.
When I outlined a vision for an International Yoga Day in September 2014 at the United Nations General Assembly, even I did not anticipate the enormous enthusiasm for the occasion from all corners of the world. Your support and participation last year and once again now redeems our commitment to nurture and promote this ancient discipline.
On the first International Yoga Day last year, Modi led thousands of people through various yogic exercises at Rajpath in New Delhi. India created 2 records on the day, holding the largest yoga class with 35,985 people, with as many as 84 nationalities taking part in a single yoga event. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Well, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj said on Sunday that India will become a member of the Nuclear Suppliers Group or the NSG this year. Now, she feels that China is not opposing India's membership but was talking about criteria and process for becoming an NSG member. Well, the issue of India's membership will now be discussed at a plenary meeting of the elite group on 23rd and 24th of June in Seoul. Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj says China is not opposed to India's entry into the nuclear suppliers group but was focused on criteria procedure. Her comments came at a news conference held on Sunday to highlight the Modi government's achievements in its 2 years of rule.
जहां तक चाइना का सवाल है, चाइना भारत की सदस्यता का विरोध नहीं कर रहा। चाइना क्राइटेरिया प्रोसेस आदि की बात कर रहा है।
India already enjoys most of the benefits of membership under a 2008 exemption to NSG rules granted to support its nuclear cooperation deal with Washington. And although India has never signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, Swaraj was optimistic that China would agree on India's entry into NSG.
अभी जब विदेश सचिव भी गए थे, तो उन्होंने भी बातचीत में यही कहा कि आप हमारे बारे में क्राइटेरिया की बात करने के बजाय क्रेडेंशियल्स की बात करें तो अच्छा है। जहां तक भरोसे का सवाल है, मुझे लगता है अभी 23 तारीख में समय है और हम आशावादी हैं कि हम चीन को भी इसमें मनाने में कामयाब हो जाएंगे।
Swaraj also took questions on Pakistan's bid to join the NSG and said that India was not against the entry of any country into the non-proliferation body.
और जहां तक पाकिस्तान की एंट्री का सवाल है, हम तो अभी मेंबर ही नहीं है एनएसजी के, जो पाकिस्तान की एप्लीकेशन पर कोई फैसले में हमारे कोई रोल हो सके, कोई भूमिका हो सके। लेकिन हम किसी भी देश की एंट्री का विरोध नहीं करेंगे, चाहेंगे कि हर एक की एप्लीकेशन उसकी अपनी मेरिट पर तय की जाए।
Membership of the 48-nation club will bring India into the nuclear fold 41 years after it tested its first nuclear bomb and give the nation of 1.25 billion a vested interest in curbing the world's most dangerous regional arms race. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, the government says the pending dialogue of Foreign Secretaries of India and Pakistan has not been cancelled. Now addressing reporters during her annual media conference, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj explained that while the talks had not been cancelled, India expects that Pakistan needs to take some action on the Pathankot incident.
India is still awaiting concrete action from Pakistan against perpetrators of air-base attack, even as talks between nuclear-armed neighbours remain suspended. Stating this on Sunday, Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj said the government won't compromise on issues of national security.
सरकार की और देशवासियों की ये अपेक्षा कि उनकी तरफ से कुछ ठोस कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए, ये अपेक्षा तो अव्यावहारिक नहीं है, अस्वाभाविक नहीं है। इसलिए उनकी तरफ से कोई भी अच्छी ठोस कार्रवाई हो जाए, इसका हम इंतजार कर रहे हैं।
A joint investigation team from Pakistan visited the scene of attack in March and collected leads and evidence from the Indian agencies to further their probe. So far, no action has been taken against the accused. Swaraj said Pakistan sought more time to permit the Indian investigators to visit their country to quiz the suspects.
उसके बाद हमारे एम्बेसडर 2 बार उन्हें जाकर मिले, तो उन्होंने कहा कि जो लीड्स हम लेकर आए हैं, अभी हम उसको देख रहे हैं, एनालाइज कर रहे हैं, हमें थोड़ा समय और चाहिए। तो एनआईए को भी उन्होंने इनकार नहीं किया है, उन्होंने सिर्फ ये मैसेज भेजा है कि हमें थोड़ा और समय चाहिए।
Swaraj reiterated India's stand that military and dialogue cannot go together.
तो तीनों सिद्धांत हमारे कि सब मुद्दे वार्ता से हल करना चाहते हैं, वार्ता के भागीदार केवल 2 देश होंगे, आतंक और वार्ता साथ साथ नहीं चल सकते। इन तीनों कसौटियों पर हमारी बात खरी उतरती है।
Pakistan, which India has long accused of backing Islamist militants, promised to investigate who was behind the airbase attack after India handed over evidence that it said implicated Jaish-e-Mohammed. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, news from Maharashtra and hitting out at the BJP, his party's ally of 25 years. The Shiv Sena President Uddhav Thackeray on Sunday said that he cannot predict if the alliance in Maharashtra would survive for long. Now, insisting that the Shiv Sena will always seek dignity in any alliance, Thackeray asked the party workers to be prepared to go alone in the upcoming major civic elections. Now, targeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Thackeray said that the BJP claims the country is changing all around, but the situation remained the same. He said that the party wanted a clear alliance with dignity and self-respect, or else it was meaningless to continue the partnership with the BJP. He also declared that Sena was not interested in snapping ties, however, with the BJP. And in Haryana, after a 5-hour-long meeting with the Haryana government, the Akhil Bharatiya Jat Aarakshan Sangharsh Samiti ended its protest, but the dharnas were lifted after the government assured the agitators that their demands will be looked into within the ambit of the law. The Jats have been demanding release of innocent youths arrested during the previous quota stir, also adequate compensation and job to the next of kin of those who lost their lives in the stir. They've also demanded sincere efforts by the government to get a stay on Jat reservation vacated by the Punjab and Haryana High Court. Now, the Samiti also expects the release of those jailed during the two agitations as soon as possible, now announcing that 31st of August as the deadline for the government to meet their demands. The Samiti leaders also said that they would hold a meeting of the National Executive on 13th of September in Hisar and announce their future course of action if their demands were not met. Well, news on markets, and Sensex opened 153.4 points lower today, but it soon recovered 100 points after the markets opened today. While rupee slumped to 60 paise to 67.68 per dollar, the Nifty recovered 30 points from the previous lows, while coming a day after RBI Chief Rajan's announcement that he will not seek a second term in September. Now, analysts said that the rupee was expected to bear the immediate brunt of exit. There is also speculation that investor confidence could be affected amid concerns about a continuation of the RBI's policy. Remember, Rajan's exit comes at a time when markets are bracing for the ramifications of Britain's possible exit from the European Union, a scenario that could see foreign institutional investors pull out of India. Well, amid the market reactions, here is the reaction on how people responded to Rajan's decision.
वर्तमान सरकार जो भी निर्णय लेती है मेरिट और लॉजिक के आधार पर लेती है, ना कोई पक्षपात और भाई भतीजावाद नहीं होता। और कांग्रेस विपक्ष में 2 वर्ष से है, शायद अभी इस बात से वो समझौता नहीं कर पाई कि कुछ एक निर्णय सत्ताधारी पार्टी को लेने होते हैं और विपक्ष में रहते हुए उन्हें इतना कॉम्प्रोमाइज़ कर लेना चाहिए कि सत्ताधारी पार्टी को अपने निर्णय करने की स्वतंत्रता दें।
Most unfortunate the way this government and the members of parliament with tacit support from the government were opposing and criticizing Mr. Rajan day in and day out. And like on earlier occasions, the Prime Minister and other senior leaders kept mum. It is sad that such a situation had to come.
Now I think after the remarks of Rahul Gandhi, I am convinced that Rajan was a saboteur in our government.
स्वामी जी ने जब लेटर लिखा था तो उसी समय स्पष्ट हो गया था कि कहीं ना कहीं से ये लेटर लिखवाया गया है और ये पहले से तय था कि राजन जी को ये फिर से रिन्यू नहीं किया जाए क्योंकि वो चिदम्बरम जी के खास आदमी हैं और इस हमारे बीजेपी ने पहले तय कर रखा था कि इनको दोबारा टर्म नहीं दिया जाएगा।
News from Bihar, and a CRPF commando was killed and 2 other Jawans were injured in an IED blast carried out by the Maoists in Aurangabad district of the state. The extremists triggered the blast near Bandhu Bigha village when 3 commandos of CRPF's elite Cobra unit were returning to their camp. The body of the commander was sent for post-mortem while the injured were rushed to a nearby hospital. The martyred commando has been identified as A. Deka, while the injured are A.K. Yadav and K. Kakuti. Well, weather update in monsoon arrived in Madhya Pradesh yesterday with several areas in the eastern part of the state receiving rains. The Met Office has warned of heavy rains also at some places in the next 24 hours. The regional Met Office said that the monsoon is expected to reach the state capital in the next 24 to 40 hours, while the city has already received showers over the last 2 days. The Met Department claimed that the rains will also be covering Konkan and Goa and will also hit the south of Maharashtra and some parts of Marathwada as well. Heavy rains are expected in Jabalpur, Khandwa and Burhanpur districts within 24 hours.
छत्तीसगढ़ में अच्छी हेवी रेनफॉल हुआ है और एमपी में भी कुछ जगह बारिश हुई है। मानसून जो है वो विदर्भ के सीमा लगत भाग से गई है, अभी कल या परसों हमारे विदर्भ से जाएगी ऐसा लगता है और वैसे आधा छत्तीसगढ़ कवर कर लिया है उन्होंने और बाकी जो है तो 1-2 दिनों में कवर कर जाएगा।
And the Indian Space Research Organisation, or ISRO, has cleared the 48-hour countdown for the launch of record 20 satellites on 22nd of June from the Satish Dhawan Space Centre in Andhra Pradesh's Sriharikota. Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, or the PSLV C-34, will carry the satellites, including India's Earth Observation spacecraft, from the second launch pad at 9:26 a.m. on Wednesday. A Mission Readiness Review Committee and the Launch Authorization Board cleared the 48-hour countdown starting at 9:26 hours IST on Monday. The space agency had earlier sent 10 satellites into orbit in a single mission in 2008. The PSLV C-34 will launch 19 co-passenger satellites, together weighing about 560 kilogram at liftoff into a 505 kilometers polar sun synchronous orbit. ISRO said that the total weight of all the 20 satellites carried on board PSLV C-34 is about 1,288 kilograms. The satellites are from the US, Canada, Germany and Indonesia, and 2 from the Indian universities. The mission would carry Lapan A3 of Indonesia, Biros of Germany, SkySat Gen 2 of US, MVV of Germany among the microsatellites. And in News at 10, we'll take a very short break. Stay with us.
Welcome to this episode of Eureka. We are with us Dr. Kiran Kumar.
While the target was 22, 2 of the satellites from one of the customers, last minute they had to drop out because certain tests which they were doing, they did not succeed in that, so they have to, we will be giving them opportunity in a later launch.
Okay.
So far we have done about 21 countries.
Okay.
For different 21 countries we have launched the satellite. 57 is our last number. With this it will become 57 plus another 70.
Watch Eureka with Dr. A.S. Kiran Kumar, Chairman ISRO, only on Rajya Sabha TV.
Ghata, one of the oldest and most unique percussion instruments of southern India. You can play it not only with your fingers, but palms, wrists and heels as well. You'll be surprised, but the air inside the ghatam reverberates, creating the musical notes. 5 elements of nature: earth, water, air, fire and space make up the composition of this beautiful musical piece, which has found an apt place in most of the ancient books.
Welcome back. The big international story, and at least 14 people were killed and 8 others wounded in a suicide car bomb attack on a minibus carrying a Nepalese security guards in Kabul. Now, Taliban have claimed responsibility for the attack on social media, claiming that it was against the forces of aggression in Afghanistan. The attacker was on foot, according to police, adding that there were multiple casualties among the bus passengers who were employees of a foreign compound. Now, Taliban has been waging an insurgency against the Western-backed Kabul government since they were ousted from power by a US-led invasion in late 2001.
او چیغې وهلې او دغسې کومک یې غوښته بیا 15 دقیقې همدغسې عسکر راغله امبولانسو سره او څو نفر هم زخمیان او ډېر حالت بد و.
News from the Middle East. And Iraqi government forces succeeded in retaking most of Fallujah from the Islamic State, but the fighting continues in parts of the city as the forces try to flush out the last trace of militants. However, the assault has forced thousands of civilians to flee, and those who are trapped inside the city have been starving to death. Now, aid agencies say that a humanitarian disaster is unfolding in the city, even as the government is already struggling to meet the needs of more than 3.5 million people across the country who have been displaced by the conflict.
Excruciating sound of gunfire exchanged between Iraqi forces and small pockets of IS militants ringing out across the besieged city of Fallujah. The defences of the terrace collapsed as Iraqi forces made rapid advances into the heart of the city on Friday, raising the national flag over the mayor's office, with Iraq's Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi claiming that the city was liberated. However, there are still militants to be flushed out. Iraqi government forces are screening those fleeing the city to prevent Islamic State militants from disguising themselves as civilians.
باتجاه حي الشهداء الثانية تم تطهيره وكذلك باتجاه حي النزال والحي الصناعي. احنا حاليا داخل الحي الصناعي والحمد لله والشكر وصلنا ملعب الفلوجة. تم تحرير هذا ملعب الفلوجة.
Meanwhile, a humanitarian disaster is unfolding in Fallujah following a civilian exodus. UN says some 80,000 people have fled during a 4-week government offensive to drive back Islamic State. A further 25,000 civilians are likely on the move. Several civilians have been killed by militants while attempting to escape. Some are caught in crossfire, while others drowned in Euphrates as they tried to swim to safety.
الطريق كان ملقم والضرب الفوقانه وقتلوا بعض الاطفال والنساء هم قتلوهم ظلوا مذبوبين بالطريق. زين هاي ما صارت فردنا بالاسلام ما صار يدعون هم بالاسلام.
Aid workers are struggling to provide food, water and medicine to people who are sleeping in the open in the hopelessly overcrowded camps outside the city.
نمرين للريان قيدناك بس بدستي وانا نمرين والله لي عنداي اللي عنداي الراوي عنداي اللي عنداي هراتين زور هراتين التلقان اللي داين.
Fallujah, 40 miles west of Baghdad, has been in the clutches of Islamic State since early 2014, part of the group's campaign of terror across Iraq and Syria. The Sunni terror group captured the territory in parts of both countries for its so-called caliphate. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
More international stories now. Here is the World Wrap. Voters in Rome elected their first female mayor on Sunday, choosing anti-establishment attorney Virginia Raggi, who vowed to clean up local government amid corruption probes of the city contracts. With about 16% of the ballots counted, Virginia Raggi offered the five-star movement led by an estimated 2-1 margin over her rival, Democrat Roberto Giachetti. At least 14 children on a summer camp in northeast Russia drowned when their boats capsized in a storm on a lake. The deputy head of Russia's Emergency Ministry's Crisis Center, Alexei Smirnov, said that 2 of the boats capsized because of bad weather. The presumptive Republican candidate in the U.S. presidential election, Donald Trump, has suggested the country should consider using profiling to combat crime. Trump made the remarks when asked if he supported more profiling of Muslims in the United States in the context of last week's shooting at the Orlando gay club. The Israeli government has approved an additional $18 million to pay for West Bank settlements. The decision by Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's right-wing cabinet will see some 70 million shekels allotted to settlement-related spending. Chinese President Xi Jinping arrived in Poland on Sunday on the second stop of his 3-nation tour aimed at cementing bilateral ties and strengthening China's relationship with Europe. Meanwhile, hundreds of Jinping supporters waving placards welcomed him in front of his hotel. And on to some Euro Cup action. Well, Switzerland and France played out a goalless draw on Sunday, which took the Swiss into the last 16 and saw the French win Group A, while newbies Albania recorded their first major tournament win with a victory over Romania that gives them the hope of reaching the Euro 2016 last 16.
In a rather lackluster match on Sunday, Switzerland rode their luck to earn a 0-all draw against France and reach the knockout stage at a European Championship for the first time after finishing second in Group A behind the hosts. Hosts France, fondly called Les Bleus, hit the woodwork 3 times, including 2 efforts by impressive Paul Pogba and a spectacular strike from substitute Dimitri Payet.
Elegant and powerful and off the bar.
France will take on a third-place team in the last 16, while Switzerland will play Group C runners-up, possibly Poland or Germany. Both teams eventually appeared happy with the group situation that sent them both through to the next round, but French fans had mixed reactions to the result.
To the knockout stages as the group winners, and they're joined.
On est quand même content et on a pris un point, c'est déjà ça. C'est déjà bien. Au moins on reste bien, on est premier. La Suisse est contente aussi, tout le monde est content. Le match était peut-être nul en soi, mais en tout cas on est qualifié, on est premier, c'est ce qui compte.
In terms of how their first two games have gone, really, both of them undone by late.
Meanwhile, in another match later in the day, Albania made history with a 1-0 win over Romania in their Group A finale.
Sprawling save by Berisha.
Armando Sadikur scored the historic goal for Albania, heading in from Ledian Memushaj's cross in the 43rd minute.
And Albania have gone in front. Sadika with a goal.
The win gave them 3 points and a chance to go through to the knockout stage as one of the 4 best third-placed finishers in the 24-team field. It was Albania's first win at any major international competition. Bureau Report, Rajya TV.
And some more football news now from South America's continental competition, Copa America, where Argentina and Chile both advanced to the semi-finals, with Chile beating Mexico 7-0 and Lionel Messi getting a goal in Argentina's 4-1 win over Venezuela to equal his country's all-time scoring record. Well, in a worst-ever defeat in a major tournament by a major football nation in recent years, Mexico were left shell-shocked when Chile hammered 7 goals past them without conceding a single one. Well, striker Eduardo Vargas would have tied for the Golden Boot lead for the tournament with his performance alone, as his 4 goals led the way. Edson Pache added another pair, while Alexis Sanchez chipped in with one as well. Now, Chile moves on to the Copa America semi-finals with a win, where it will face Colombia. Meanwhile, in another match, Lionel Messi scored a record-equaling 54th international goal as Argentina outclassed Venezuela to boost their chances in the final. Well, the Barcelona forward also created goals for Gonzalo Higuain, who scored twice, and Eric Lamela scored the other goal. Messi's 4th goal of the tournament in the 60th minute equals Gabriel Batistuta, long-time Argentina international goal-scoring record. Now, Argentina will meet hosts US in the semi-finals on Tuesday.
Well, we're thrilled because we play one of the best teams in the world, and this is what you want, and this is what you want to measure yourself and go out there and give them a real fight. I think the team has done tremendously well over the last couple of weeks and got rewarded with getting into the semi-final.
While more sporting action now, here's the sports beat. MS Dhoni and his men will be keen to get things right as India prepares to face Zimbabwe in the crucial second T20 match on Monday. The visitors lost by 2 runs to hosts in the opening T20 match, their first defeat of the tour, having whitewashed the hosts 3-0 in the preceding ODI series. India need to defeat Zimbabwe today to take the series to a decider. Andy Murray became the first player to hold aloft the super-sized Queen's Club trophy for a 5th time after he beat Canadian big server Milos Raonic 6-7, 6-4, 6-3 in the final of the Asian Championships on Sunday. The Scot overtakes the likes of John McEnroe, Boris Becker and Roy Emerson with the 5 Asian Championships title. Meanwhile, American Madison Keys beat Barbara Strykova 6-3, 6-4 in straight sets on Sunday to win the Aegon Classic in Birmingham. Czech Strykova finished as runners-up for the 2nd time in 3 years. It was Keys' first title of the year and comes a week before the start of the Wimbledon. Nico Rosberg won the first Formula One race held in Azerbaijan on Sunday to turn the championship tide and stretch his lead over Mercedes teammate Lewis Hamilton to 24 points. Ferrari's Sebastian Vettel finished as runners-up, 16.6 seconds behind, with Force India's Sergio Perez back on the podium for the 2nd time this season. Well, that's it from me and my team in this edition of news. Thanks so much for watching.